geometry to itself. But this is more to kind of prep you for some of the things in geometry, but some of the stuff that has an algebra base with it. So, what we're going to do is today we're going to talk a little bit about segments, parts of lines, and we're also going to talk a bit about triangles and some angle things. So there'll be a few things that we add in here, but like I said, we're going to stick with this for a few days. So for today, just kind of try to stay with. Write down a few things as we go along. 60 life, pretty simple to work with. All right. So what we've got. Pause here for a minute. All right. When we're talking about when we're talking about something with a midpoint, midpoint's the middle of something. It is. That's true. So whenever you're told something's the midpoint, whatever you have for the two sides, you're just going to put an equal sign in the middle. Now, sometimes that'll be really, really, really simple because you're like, oh, so it's just x equals 6. Yes. CD, in this case, right, because it's just the whole line. Because if I know this part's 6 already, and I just figured out this part's 6, I'm just going to add them up, which ends up being 12. I've got an answer. Now, I'm going to do the odd ones with you, so I'm going to keep skipping one all the time. So you're going to be like, why do you keep skipping one? Because those are the ones I'm kind of helping out with. So here, I don't have a number right away in number 3. So I'm actually going to write this down like an equation, and I'm going to solve it. Now, this is just a suggestion, of course. But if I want to solve this in as quick a manner as I can, I'd really like to move the x's over here, because I really don't want my x's to be negative. It's just one more thing I'd have to do. So if I minus those over, having 1x, or x is the same thing, so I actually get it done in one step, and then I'd still rather have you use a regular one though, because then I'm not wondering. So I find out my x is 7. So then when I'm trying to find out the pieces of this, all I'm doing is saying, okay, uv is 2x plus 7, but I know what x is. X is 7. So all I'm doing is I'm doing 2 times 7 plus 7. 2x, the number I just found, okay, plus 7. So 2 times 7 is 14. Plus 7 means uv is 21. Now, if I did this right, and this is the nice thing about this, if this is the midpoint, uv, what I just found, should be the same thing as vw. So let's see. vw is 3x. Well, x is 7. 3 times 7 is 21, and they're the same. Okay, I feel good about this. And then uw is just the whole thing. So I just add together the two parts that I just found. So there's going to be a process to this. Not only am I going to have to figure out what x is, or whatever the variable is, then I'm going to have to plug it back in. But it's all type of stuff that we've done already, so it's kind of just putting it all together. So that would be similar in number 5 when we get there. When I see the word midpoint, I'm just going to put in an equals. Now, I have choices when I get here. This is just, again, personal preference. I like to get my x's together, and I like to keep them positive. So since 4 is smaller than 6, I'm going to move the 4 to the other side. I'm going to do this one step at a time. Now that all my x's are together, now my next job is to get the x term by itself. So now, since I'm trying to get this alone, I want to add 5. What's my last step going to be? divide by 2. So x is going to be 3. So you're like, ooh, but there's a lot of stuff still to find here. So GH right now says it's 4x plus 1, but now I know what x is. So that's going to be 4 times 3 plus 1. So that plugs the 3 into the x. 4 times 3 is 12, plus 1 is 13. Now again, cool thing about midpoint. I know now that HG should be 13. If I did this right, it will be. So let's find out. Here's my HJ, 6x minus 5. I plug in the 3 that I know x is for here. 6 times 3 is 18, minus 5 is 13. Bless you. So that's 13. And then to find GJ, the whole thing, just add those two together. But the whole thing, you start to notice, depends on if I find x correctly. If I screw up x, that's going to screw up everything. So I've really got to take my time when I'm working through something with a midpoint and be able to get that x value. So then we add another little piece. Okay, what's called an angle bisector. Now here's how this works. If something bisects something, it cuts it in half. It cuts it into 2 equal pieces. So, if this is a bisector, then when you talk about an angle, you always want to put what's called the vertex in the middle. So like for instance, I could call this STV. I could call it DTS, but either one works, as long as the T is in the middle. And UTV, and again, you could call it DTU, as long as the T is in the middle. But they'll be equal to each other. It's sort of like a midpoint of an angle, is the way I like to look at it sometimes. So whenever I see these little markings, something like this, okay, what those tell me is that these two pieces are equal. So by knowing that, I'm like, okay, so if PQS is 40, what's SQR have to be? 40, has to be the same thing. If that's true, then PQR, the whole angle, have to be those two put together. So it'll be 40 and 40, which is going to end up being 80. So it does. It works exactly like a midpoint does, just an angle. Oh, I did number 8. I wasn't supposed to do number 8. Oh well, that's life. That happens. Okay, so 9. KM is the bisector of JKL. Okay, so what do I know right away? Right away, I know that this are going to be the same. As soon as I see the word bisector, it splits my angle. So if JKL, if this whole thing is 110, the whole big one, then JKM is what? Exactly. It's 110 divided by 2 because it cuts it in half, which makes it 55. And then you're like, well, x, how am I going to find x? Well, I know that this angle is 55. But I also know now that this equation, this expression, 4x plus 5, has to equal that. Because I know what the measure of the angle is, I just don't know what x is. So once I have that, how do I go about getting my x value? What do I have to do to get the 4x by itself first? Minus the 5. Don't freak out if you get a decimal sometime. Our last step is to divide by 4. 50 divided by 4 is 12.5, 12.5. And that's always fine. Okay? Decimals are okay. So again, midpoint, angle bisector, same idea. One angle or one segment just getting cut in half is all that we're basically doing. So, as I flip towards the middle part here, just a reminder, when I see that marking going across here, and I'm just going to change it up a little bit so I can tell that there's two different marks here, not just one. My equation's always to set them equal to each other. 3x minus 6 equals 2x. And I want to get all the x's to the one side. I don't care which side you get them to. So do you have a preference on which ones we move? The 3 or the 2? Okay, let's move the 2. I'm actually glad you said that. I want to make sure that we do one important thing here. So I got 3 minus 2 is 1x minus 6. What's left on the right side of the equals now? Okay, nothing. I need to put the 0 there. Because I can't just look at this and say, oh, x is negative 6. No. Because now I got to get x alone. I got one step left. I've got to add that 6 to both sides. So my x value is 6. And now that's going to let me find my other two measurements. HLJ is 3x minus 6, which is going to be 3 times 6 minus 6. 18 minus 6 is 12. Now we remember back from when we were doing the segments. If this first one's 12, the second one should be. If we did this right, let's find out. JLK is 2x, which is 2 times 6. Sweet. That's 12 too. And then HLK is just the sum of the two, which is 24. And we kind of start to get into a rhythm with this. And 13, same deal. Set them equal. I apologize for not having more space in here. And again, you have a choice. I like always taking the smaller ones to keep things positive. So if I move the 4. And now, just like we've been doing since like the second week of school here, we're just going ahead and solving the equation. I'm going to add the 10 over. And divide by 2. So once I do that, now I can go back and go, okay, so NPM is the 6n minus 10. But I don't want to have the n. I know what n is. It's 9. 6 times 9 is 54. Minus 10 is 44. But we still should jump in where we're at. Because there's going to be a lot of work we're going to be doing. But yeah, I can jump back. You'll jump right in. So, then, I know the other one should be 44. So, MPR is this 4n plus 8. 4 times n plus 8. Oops. 9, no, that would help, Harty. Because all I'm doing is I'm plugging the n value that I found right here. 36 plus 8, 44. That makes me happy because I knew those two should be the same. And then NPR is just the sum of the two. I'm just going to add my two smaller angles together. So again, first two sections. Basically, whether it's midpoint or bisecting with those little marks on them. Just means we're setting the two parts equal to each other. We're kind of working from there. And our next little part, but it is real similar to what we're doing here. We have what's called vertical angles. They're straight across from each other. And you'll notice with the markings, they're equal. So I can always set them equal to each other, just like when I'm having bisecting angles. Two other angles that would be vertical, to me, it looks like these two are straight across and they share a point. So how do I name those two angles in red that I just marked? Okay, ABD, and if you'd have gone the other way and did DBA, that's okay. And CBE, as long as the B is in the middle, that's the important part. So whenever I find one, and I'm purposefully going to do an even again, that I said I wasn't going to do. For instance, here, if we want to find out what SQT is, this one, it's vertical from the other one. So I just set them equal. Nothing to solve, nothing really fancy to do. I'm just writing down the number and going about my business. But 15 is kind of a weird one, and I was going to wait and introduce this tomorrow, but since it's here, let's go ahead and do this. These are not vertical. You're like, well, but they're right next to each other. Right. But when they're vertical, they have to be across from each other. They are, but I'm not even going to go down that road yet. Perfect. That's what I was just going to mention. Right. It's a straight. That's perfect. Okay. A straight line's 180. I'm trying to find this missing piece. You guys are good. So 180 minus 112 is what my other angle is going to be. So there are lots of little things to kind of focus in on and pay attention to, but it's nothing that's out of the way that we can't get to. 17 gets us back to the vertical. These two are the same. No, you don't have to. I just like doing it so people can kind of see, oh yeah. So if these are equal, we just set them equal. And I just have one step to get it solved. I'm going to divide both sides by 4. So that's all we have. But now, our QT is just 4 times the x value I just got. And I already knew it should be 100 because those are right across from each other. Now, here's the kicker. SQT, this one, isn't vertical. But if you take a look for a second, and you say, hey, if I put that this way, it looks like it makes a straight line like we had in 15. So this should be 180 minus what I know already. That's true. If I was looking for all of them, it would be 360. I totally agree with you. But since I'm just looking for this one individual one, it's just going to be 80 for SQT. If they ask me for PQR, we could find that now too. It works out kind of nice for us. 19 does the same thing for us. They're across from each other. Set them equal. Let's stay focused in up here. And just like we've done up above, we're going to go ahead and get all of my x's to one side, so I can minus the 5x over. Then I need to get the x alone, and I'm subtracting 3 from it, so I can add that back to the other side. 3? Yeah, I did. Yep, added the 3 back over. 18 plus 2 is going to be 21. Okay? So again, then I just start plugging in values. Y, x, u. Okay, it's going to be this value. So 5 times my x is 21 plus 18. So let's see here. 105 plus 18 is 123. So I know this is 123. So this other one should be the same, I hope. We'll see. So 6x, 6 times 21 minus 3. 6 times 21 is 126. Minus 3, so is 123. And the reason I like marking my angles when I'm doing them is when they ask one like this last one with VXU, which isn't in the same place, we just do the 180 thing. So 180 minus the 123 that I already know is 57. And I'm good. Okay. So verticals, still set them equal. Midpoints, set them equal. Bisectors, set them equal. We're kind of seeing a pattern develop here. Okay. But this will be there to help you out along the way anyway. So let's see here. We've gone vertical crazy. Ooh, review. Skip down a little bit. 23. Perimeter. So perimeter equals me adding up all the sides. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to save myself a step. I'm going to combine my like terms right away. So 4 and 2 and 1 are 7. Negative 4 and negative 10 is negative 14. Plus 6 is negative 8. And now I've just got to solve this mini equation. I'm going to add my 8 over. And then I'm going to divide by 7. That's hopefully so. And as kind of time goes by, hopefully it even gets easier than easy. The evens that we don't do. Yep. That's the homework. So now, Mn, I'm just going to start filling this 4 in. So 2 times 4 is 8, minus 4, so my Mn value is 4. Okay? Because Mn is this. And then here, Nj is 4x minus 10. But I know now that my x is 4. So 4 times 4 is 16. And 10 is 6. And Mj is x plus 6. 4 plus 6 is 10. And I get all of my values for the perimeter. Now, 25, I got one more twist to throw in. Like dang, Harty, there's always one more twist. Now they're the angles of the triangle. Anybody know how many degrees are in a triangle?
I know.
180. Okay? So there's 180 degrees in a triangle. So, when I go to do this, I have 180. And just like we did over in 23, I'm going to combine my like terms. And then I'm just going to solve that equation, and that'll give me my x so I can find out all my angles. So what would I have to do first in this equation to start working on getting x by itself? Okay, add 36. then divide by 12. And like we've done on every other one, once I have that, angle A is 3 times x, so 3 times 18. Angle C is 2x plus 4, so 2 times 18 plus 4. And B is 7x minus 40, so 7 times 18 minus 40. We're ready to go. Okay. So your job is to take care of the even meter here. Okay. Using the other examples that you've got to help you out. Like I said, we're going to spend a few days here. So if you have any issues, let me know and we'll get you back.